Hello there guys, Francis Gray here and welcome back to a brand new video build. And in today's video we are going to be making up a 3D printed model of a resin kit of the character Brick Bazooka from the 90s classic Small Soldiers. I'll see you after this. Okay guys, so welcome back to a brand new build, and as you can see here we have our work cut out for us here. This is pretty big. So if you don't know who this character is, his name's Brick Bazooka, and he's one of the elite commando soldiers from an old film from the 90s I believe called Small Soldiers. So basically think it's a bit like Toy Story meets Jumanji in a way, if that's a good comparison. So yeah, this character is alive for the most part, and he's sentient, and he's part of a group of elite commandos. And this is a pretty big model. So it looks like it's been 3D printed in resin. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual model. So there's the main torso. But as you can see there, it's this part of resin on this part here has obviously snapped off. So there's Mr. Bazooka's head, and that just fits in place there. But as you can see, there's like little scuff marks in the paintwork here, there and everywhere. So it's going to be an interesting one, because obviously there's like seam lines, but there would be seam lines on the actual model itself because he's supposed to be a toy. So that would make more sense. So getting to the bottom of his waist. So for the most part this seems okay. It's just more this up here. And then this is his left arm. Now this isn't fully glued in position, so it's quite a nice connection, but that's what it's like inside, and then that's the arm, and it fits in place like that. Now as you can see there, there's a lot of like little marks where they've just like ripped off the supports and left out these little, these little things. So those are going to need to be sanded smooth. And then this is his right arm. Same again, little seam support structure things. Now this is really glued this side, so I'm not even going to try and take that because I'm more likely to just break it. So I'm just going to leave that as is. And then this is his right leg, and his foot just fits nicely in place there. So I can't see that being much trouble. And obviously that fits in there like that. There's the other leg. Same again. And then we have this backpack. I believe that just sits in there like that. I don't know if it's that way or that way. I need to check references. I think it's more likely to be that way. Yeah, that looks a bit more natural. But same again, it's all like score marks and support marks underneath there as well. And then we have his gun. And then the only other part is we have a Brick Bazooka 3D printed nameplate, and then I think that's a stand for it. And then we have his dog tags in there, and then this randomly this part here, which I'm not too sure what that is to yet. So it could be to just try and keep these from bending and breaking, or it could be a part of the kit. I do not know yet, but we will find out. So the only other thing that the client sent me was he bought this really nice heavy wooden plinth. That is a really nice plinth. I wish I had more of these to use myself in other projects, but this is going to look great with this guy on top. Now the client has asked me to do a few extra bits to it. I'll get more into that in a moment, but for now I'm going to go in with a series of sanding files, and I'm going to go ahead and get sanding. Yep, this is going to take me a long time to do. So once the client contacted me and asked me to make this commission for him, one of the ideas pitched was he loved the scene in the movie where there's like a board meeting and we see like a diorama of the sergeant on like a big plinth, and there's like a destroyed wall in the background and then a bunch of like destroyed like metal around him, and basically it comes across as like a diorama scene where he's in a war zone. So he wanted to do that same idea, but with the Brick Bazooka character rather than the Tommy Lee Jones, you know, sergeant. So yeah, he already sent me a black plinth, which I stated earlier on in the video. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take measurements from that, and then we're going to use a bit of scrap wood, and we're going to go ahead and try and makeshift us a new brick wall.
What follows is a brief construction montage.
Okay, so just going to start with some scrap wood, and we're going to carefully go ahead and cut it to shape. And now we're going to go in with our L bracket, or our 90-degree angle, and we're going to go ahead and create a nice straight line, and same again, cut it nice and straight. So as you can see there, we've got 3 separate bits of scrap wood, all the exact same size, so this should make a nice base to a wall. Okay, so we've got these like little square blocks. So these were originally from like a fancy placemat, and I thought these would probably be good to help me map out where the bricks should be in this. So once I got my measurements, I just went in with various rulers and L brackets, and then just went ahead and mapped out where the bricks need to be, obviously remembering to overlap them on the ledge above. So with a little bit of planning and a lot of patience, we managed to map out where the brickwork need to be. So I'm going to go in with a bit of a thicker pencil at the moment. I'm going to map out what we need to cut away, because I want this wall to look like it's been in a war zone, so it looks like it's, you know, bricks has been blown off and it's been a bit ragged, I suppose. So for the next stage, I'm going in with my bandsaw, and I'm just going to carefully cut away the edges that we don't need. So now that we've got our rough shapes cut out, for the next stage I went ahead and put a small thin router bit into my drill, and then I carefully took my time and then made sure that it was all lined up perfectly, so it would only take like a millimetre out of the wood, and we can map out where the mortar should be. So after many hours of carefully doing that on both sides, for the next stage I want to go in with some PVA glue and a fixable brush, and we're going to go ahead and coat all this to make it unified and strong, especially around the sides where that like wood chip area is. We really need to go ahead and make sure that that is nice and secure. So after leaving that a good 24 hours to fully cure, for the next stage I'm going to go in for a little bit more PVA glue and some clamps, and we're going to go ahead and try to clamp part A to B to C, in a 90-degree angle, and then hopefully this should all line up when we go to add it to the base later on. And after leaving that to dry, and then we're going to go in with some thin drill bits, and we're going to go ahead and hammer in some nails just to help strengthen this in the long run. And now in with a second coat of PVA glue, just so when it dries this should be rock solid. And now I'm going to go in with a tub of fill it in, and then basically this is just like a paste that you can just put it on nice and thin, and once it's fully dried it basically just makes this a lot harder. So same again, it'll help unify it and make it look more realistic, and it'll also help keep it nice and solid. So with all the steps that we've took so far, this should be one really tough wall.
We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
So now that the wall is nice and dry, for the next stage we're into the spray booth, and I'm going to go ahead and start by hitting this with a black prime, and then once that's fully dried we're going to go in with like a reddish brick colour as a base coat.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Okay, so for the next part we need to go in with a watered down black acrylic wash, and I'm going to go ahead and get into all nooks and crannies and then mop away the excess. So we're going to crack on with the base now, so I'm just going to flip it 180 degrees the other way, and as you can see there, the underside of the base, those little blue felt little corner protection pads, they aren't going to cut it in the long run. They're a bit too thin for my liking. So I'm going to peel them off, and we're going to go in with these exact same type, but they're going to be a lot more raised up. So now that we're making the underside of the base a lot more cooler, for the next stage I'm going to go in with one of these. Now these came with the actual model, and it's of the company called Globotech, which is the company in the movie that makes the small soldiers. So yeah, it basically just opens up and it just says Gizmo inside, which I don't know if people can remember or not, but Gizmo, in a long story short, was the password used for the guy to buy the military microchips, which makes the small soldiers hyper, intelligent and hostile. So I thought that the company logo would be like pretty cool under the base, even though you're not really going to see it. It's just cooler, it's there because it kind of gets across that the company, this is the company's property for a prototype in a board meeting. So a little bit nerdy, but cool at the same time.
No shit.
Okay, so for the next part now, as you can see here, we need to go ahead and we need to refix this. So how strong this is actually going to be is questionable, because it is a pretty bad break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with some high velocity super glue and some carbonate of soda, and then that should help weld this together. Okay guys, so that's about as best as I can do for now. Let's go ahead and leave that to fully cure.
Alright. 3 hours later.
So now that the carbonate soda and the super glue have fully had time to fuse, that's made this connection a lot more stronger now, a lot more steadier. But unfortunately it's also left it a little bit uneven and a bit bumpy, which we might run into some problems when we go to add the torso later. So the best plan of action now is to go in with a straight edge file and take our time and file this as smooth as possible.
It's been 84 years.
Okay, moment of truth. Does it still fit?
Yay!
Yep, still does. Awesome. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go ahead and use epoxy resin glue, and we're going to go ahead and glue the feet to the legs. Okay, let's leave those to fully cure. Okay, so for the next part, now that this is dry, we need to go ahead and add a dry brush highlight on the brickwork. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of Spanish saffron from a tester pot and a thick makeup brush. And now I'm going to go in with a little bit of off-white from Game Colour. I'm going to add a tiny bit to what's left of the orange, mix it together, and it's going to make a very fine highlight to the brickwork. Okay, so now that we've done the brickwork, we need to go ahead and add the grey mortar. So now to do that, I'm going to go in with some medium sea grey from Model Colour. Okay, so now that we have worked on the hands, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some black from Model Air. Okay, hand number 2. So while the black is still out, I thought I'd go ahead and touch up that kind of metallic sash that Brick has. And also Brick's boots. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this into place there. Okay, so as you can see there guys, because I've had to deal with those supports, there is quite a bit of sanding and chips in the paintwork, so all the skin tones are going to have to be redone again. So in order to start that, I'm going to go in with an undercoat of dark flesh from Model Colour.
Yeah, I know at the moment he's looking a little bit more like a character from The Simpsons than he is actually Brick, but this is just an undercoat, so don't worry.
It works at so many levels!
Okay, so for these two top green parts, now these are a bit darker in comparison to the trousers. So for these parts I'm going to go in with this already pre-mixed dark green. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with a burnt umber from Model Air, and I'm going to try and give it a base coat. Okay, so for the next part now, to repaint these parts of the trousers, I'm going to go in with two paints. So for the lighter shade of green, I'm going to go in with a Revell Semi-Matte 360, and for the darker parts, a Semi-Matte 364, also from Revell. Now these are really old paints, so I don't even know if they still make these or not, but hopefully they do.
And now I'm going to go in with the darker green from Revell, number SM364, and we're going to go in with a detailing brush, and we're going to go ahead and do the darker camouflage. Okay, those two colours from Revell seem to have colour matched this perfectly, so I'm over the moon.
I like it a lot.
Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with a Humbrol number 61 regular flesh colour, and we're going to go ahead and paint this a lighter shade.
So as you can see, he now no longer looks like he's a member of The Simpsons.
And for the next part I'm going to go in with some silver from Game Colour. for the next part I'm going to go in with some Glorious Gold from Game Colour.
Okay, so now that all the main parts on the main figure has got a nice base coat, for the next stage we're going to take it into the spray booth and we're going to hit it with at least one coat of a nice matte varnish.
Okay, so now that all the main parts are done and matte varnished, for the next stage we need to go ahead and start connecting the parts together, or assembly. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go in with some regular high velocity super glue and some activator. Okay, so before I go ahead and add the head, the client stressed to me that I need to add the dog tags first, because apparently the dog tags will not fit over this head. To be fair, I can see where he's coming from. Okay guys, so there he is, Brick Bazooka, all made up and repainted. So now that we have our main figure, for the next stage we need to crack on with the base. So as you can see here, this is Brick's like front facing. So this looks like a natural stance, which works quite well. So we need to go ahead and drill those pilot holes for the metal pins to sit in place. So before I go ahead and do that, I'm just going to add a little pencil outline to where his feet are at the moment. Okay, so it doesn't sit flush, but that's okay because we're going to be going in a moment with some air dry and modelling clay. So it'll be pushed into position, so it should just mimic like uneven earth, like mud if you like. So for now, let's go ahead and remove him without breaking him. And yeah, for the next stage we need to go ahead and start working on attaching this. Okay, so now that we have our mark, let's go ahead and score it.
The next day.
Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with some Das air drying modelling clay, and I'm just going to put 2 blobs of it around where his feet is, and I'm going to go ahead and gently put Brick in place and then that should all the details under his boots should merge into the clay, and then we're gonna have to give the clay probably 2 to 3 days to fully cure before we can take him back off, and then we can map out what goes around him.
What?
Okay, let's go ahead and leave that a couple of days to fully harden.
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
24 hours later.
Okay, so it's been a good 24 hours. So for the next stage, we need to go ahead and try to remove Brick from his positions, so we can get new fresh air to harden the clay under the boots. Okay, that went a lot smoother than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, boy!
Okay, so as you can see here, we need to go ahead and leave that to fully dry as well.
Eventually.
Okay, so for the next stage, we need to go ahead and we need to add bulk in and around and make it all blend together. So I'm going to go in with some wood filler. Okay, so good 24 hours later, and as you can see there, this is rock hard now, so we have something for the air dry modelling clay to grab hold of. Okay, so for the next part, now that this is fully dry, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some dark brown acrylic. And now I'm going to go in with a bit of PVA glue. And now I'm going to go in with a little bit of grass scatter. And for the next part, I'm going to go in with some various different grass tufts and just add a little bit more foliage.
Okay, so the diorama in the actual movie, as you can see there's a lot of destroyed kind of plastics that were supposed to be metal. To depict like a war zone, so we need to go ahead and recreate something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my bit box and I'm going to get old bits of plastic that I've kept for different reasons over the years, and we're going to take it into the garden and we're going to hit it with a couple of coats of like a nice like silver kind of chrome colour, and yeah, we can then do a bit of a mishmash between those, adding those to the base, and then obviously more static grass and foliage, etc. Just basically make it look a little bit more lived in. So after all that was added and it's looking a lot more lived in now, for the next stage we're going to go ahead and we are going to add the Brick Bazooka logo in place. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to Dremel off a little bit of the back because it's interrupting the ledge that's under it, so it won't actually sit flush. But if I just take off a little bit of that little arrow point, it then should sit nice and flush. And then we just get a nice sharp scalpel and we do like a zigzag motion on the back of the logo and the base itself, and then we can go in with some 2-part epoxy resin and then secure this in place, and then once hardened, that should be rock solid.
And for the next part, I went in and I made a mixture of these three colours. So we've got a little bit of Glorious Gold from Game Colour, we've got a little bit of Orange Rust from Model Air, and we've got a little bit of Surface Primer. And then once mixed, I think hopefully this should make a nice rust colour. Okay guys, so for the next stage now, I went ahead and contacted the client, and he loves what he's seen so far. There's only like two things that he wants changing. One, he wants this wall looking like it's been in a war zone, so maybe like bullet holes or just make it a little bit more darker. And then the main thing is he wants the nameplate to be the official colours of the logo. So I found this online, and this is the colour scheme that he wants. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and paint that on this. So to start it off, I'm just gonna go in with a base coat of Dead White from Game Colour.
Now, I know what you're thinking. It would have been a lot easier to paint this before I went ahead and attached it. Yes, that was my fault. I was being a little bit impatient, and I wanted to basically get it on there. And by the time I heard back from the client, it was already too late. It was my mistake. It was, yeah, but it just means it's going to be a little tiny a bit more trickier to paint. But all's well that ends well, and I'm happy to say that this did turn out rather nice. So yeah, fingers crossed the client likes it.
Okay, so for the next part we need to go ahead and add a little bit more damage to this back wall, because the client asked me to make it look more like it's been in a war zone. So for the next stage I'm going to go in with this type drill bit, which is like a little pyramid head, and we're going to go ahead and make some holes. And now in with a little bit of acrylic black, and we're going to go ahead and paint it inside of the holes. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with a very watered down black wash, and we're going to go in and paint over the brickwork.
And then in order to seal the realism, I then went in with like a bright copper kind of orangey colour, and then I just painted the outside ridge just to basically get across that a bullet penetrated the wall and basically showed undisturbed brickwork underneath that's new and clean compared to the aged brick around it. So I hope that made sense. And yeah, and the last thing I did was I painted another piece of like looking like steel girder, which same again, I did it so it was a nice rust colour, and then it's just an extra little detail that we can add to the diorama. And once that's added in place, I do believe this is finished.
Okay guys, so here he is, all finished, and I have to admit I'm happy with the finished results. So it's been a lot of work this one, but it's been worth it in the end. And I contacted the client and he's over the moon with what is being made. So he's happy, I'm happy, the world is happy as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please slap that like button, share on Facebook and X, because it helps new people find the YouTube channel, which I always appreciate. Thank you for any help. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds, and we have got really cool stuff in the works. And the channel's current goal is to get to 3,000 subscribers, and I can only get there with your help, and as you can see we're almost there. So yeah, definitely support the channel if you can. And if you want to be a legendary viewer, please take 5 minutes, check out my Patreon page, where with your help and support we can do these videos full time rather than part time, which means a lot more content for you guys and a bit more work for me. So all that being said, thank you for watching. I'm Francis Gray and this is Brick Bazooka from the classic 90s movie Small Soldiers. I'll see you in the next build.